Hey guys, Jeff here from Ghost Knight Gaming, and we're coming up with another cosplay blog for you guys to check out. So I'm working on something a little different here. Got to pick up the materials I need for that sword I'm working on. Plus I've gotten a couple other ideas from other cosplayers on what I can do for that handle, and I'll get back to you guys on that later. This time I'm working on a bow. Yeah, swords, bows, weapons of all kinds. Here's the template I started with, or I'm starting with for this one. Here's other pieces of the template. What they'll all be will come in time. Before I go over that, I'm just going over what I'm working with. So I'm working with, in this case, I'm working with EVA foam. It's fairly cheap, easy to work with, easy to cut, easy to mold with some application of heat, which you'll probably see a little bit later here on this video or part 2 of this video, depending on how long these videos run. And all in all, yeah, I like using it. I've worked with it for a couple of my projects here and there. I'm certain some of you guys have seen the pictures for my some of my other projects on my Facebook page, and I'll have more on some of those other projects later on in these videos. But for now, I'm going to go and start working on this bow. Quickly, I'm just going to say, if you're looking for more tutorials on this, I might try doing some later on. But I highly recommend Evil Ted, and I'll put a link to his channel down in the description for this, and you really should check it out and see all the stuff that he does with foam, which is really impressive. So for now, I've got my foam, I've got my knife for cutting it, I've got a Sharpie so that I can draw out my template. Next up on this is safety pins, or sewing pins. Great thing about these sewing pins is it allows me to put my template in place like so that I can, well, draw the template on without worrying about it moving about, shifting while I'm working. So I'm going to put all these pins in place here at various points just so I can keep it from moving about while I draw this. So this one's fairly complicated compared to a lot of the other stuff I've done so far, largely because I've got all this empty space I've got to cut out. Also the fact that to get the size I want for the bow, I actually need to cut 2 pieces for each side. I'm basically going to take the 2 pieces and sandwich them together to make the full width of what the bow is going to be. So we'll see how that goes, based as much as I can guess of what I want it to look like. If it doesn't look right, I'll probably try doing it just as 1 piece. But for now, we're going to try it with 2. And I'll get to that part shortly here. I just want to put enough pins so this stuff isn't moving anywhere, especially because I've got all these finer, well, fine-ish details inside. So now I'm going to take my Sharpie, and I'm actually going to draw the whole thing here. So, give me a moment. And thanks to the pins in place, I'm not as worried about my template shifting around on me as I'm drawing it on. There we go. Oh, I'm going to do the inside. I'm going to do the inside now. Don't know necessarily, but I'll get to cutting it out today. Oops. Making a mess while I do this. So for my actual template, I'm just using poster board. You can use various types of paper I've used clear sheets, I've used just regular art paper. Pretty much the big thing is using poster board, the template is likely to survive longer, especially if you're going to use it for a while. Especially in this case, because I need to make multiple copies of the same piece. I don't want my template falling apart halfway through and having to work on it again. So now we'll remove all these pins that I've got in here. Take out our template. And voila, we now have piece 1 of 4. Good things to do, especially both between your template and your actual piece that you're working with. If you have important things that you want to make sure that your template remembers, write them down. Write it on your piece. I mean, you're going to be covering this up, painting and all that kind of stuff later, so you know it doesn't hurt if you mark what you need to. But I want to make sure that I know which side is front, because the bow is not quite shaped the way you think a standard bow looks. It's more like a competition bow is what they describe it as. So I want to make sure that I know which part is front. So I'm going to put a little arrow at the front of the bow, so I know, okay, that's going to be bow. So when I'm holding it, I'm going to be holding it like this. All right. Okay. So that's piece 1. Okay. So there we go. So yeah. So now I'm going to take the time to draw out the rest of the templates here, and once I'm done, I'll come back to you guys, and then we'll continue on with cutting this piece with the other and some of the other pieces, and then we'll actually try taking a look at what it's going to take to assemble it. All right, stay tuned. And we're back. So I've taken the time to cut all that stuff out. Kind of went longer than I thought. Drew out all the templates. So now I'm going to actually cut out the one for the main piece that I started with, and you guys can kind of see what's going on there. So big thing about the process is when you're cutting with your knife, you want to be very very patient with it, especially like in the case of mine here. I've got a lot of curves and a certain degree of detail that I want to make sure I don't lose as I'm cutting the piece. So when you cut, you want to make sure that your knife goes all the way, or as far through the foam as you can, that it's straight up so you don't get any angles. And when you cut nice and slow. There you go. So there's cut number 1. Woo! Okay, so let's do cut number 2 here. So kind of organizing my thoughts by parts I want to cut. So I'm going to run along my marking line. So because I want to get it the size I want to cut inside my line. And so now we're going to do one of the really long pieces here. And yeah, nice and patient, watching where I'm cutting, taking time to adjust my piece so that I don't end up cutting through my table. Here we come to the curve. It's a bit of a... Alright, oops. Oh well, I can clean that up later. Excuse me. So, cut along my line, nice and slow. Right there. And voila. Alright, there's one of the major cuts done. So I got another really big one. This one's got all the curves. So we'll see how this goes. And over we go. There we go. On the line. Going up to our next big curve. There we go. And voila. Now, this stuff's pretty thick, and my knife could definitely be sharper. But, so I'm going to have to go over my lines again, just to make sure when I'm done with it. See what happened there. it'll come free of the foam. Alright, so there's that piece. I have to go over the outside. Yep, just the outside piece. Everything else cut pretty good. There we go. Alright. And alright, there you go. So there's our piece free of the foam. Now as you can see, I've already cut the inside. And, well, show you a little bit of movie magic and a little bit over 4 hours of work. Here's the rest of the pieces. Now I've labeled all of my pieces 1B, 1A. So I know that when I'm done, that's where what pieces need to attach to what, like so. Okay, so in theory my cutting was close enough that when I'm done all I gotta do is a little bit of sanding to even them out once I put them together. But that's all that's really left on that end to put together. Now the only thing I haven't done yet is I've already got to cut one top part of one of these. Basically this is going to sit somewhere up here like this. There's some more pieces attached to there. Is I have to cut the other one of these. I've already done my handle. Both pieces for that. That's going to get put together. That's going to get rounded and sanded down so that's a little bit more rounded, a little bit more comfortable to hold. That's kind of uncomfortable at this point. But the only thing I've got left I got to cut is just got to cut this piece here. So I'm going to quickly cut this piece here for you guys to see. Move all the rest of my chaos here out of the way. Definitely want to give yourself plenty of room to work. I got all this extra foam from cutting out those inside pieces. I had a bag somewhere, but it's going to go down here for now. I'll clean that up after I'm done here. So I'm going to put this piece up here. This. So yeah, so I'm going to cut this piece as well. Alright. Start here. So this is a little easier to do because it's straight pieces, but you don't want to get complacent because the last thing you need is your knife to go wigging out on you and end up with, you know, random curves. You're going to have to spend half an hour sanding up just to clean it up. Cut along the top. Alright, that piece. And I'm going to cut along the top of these two parts here. There we go. Alright, I need to cut that one a little bit better. Cut it again. Oops. Yeah, so like I said, don't get too complacent when you cut straight lines because you want to keep your lines straight. Move the huge piece out of the way, that way I got room to work here. Now I'm going to go along here. Very carefully now it's by itself. Alright, okay, so one more cut to get that all the way through. There we go, that piece is dealt with. Sorry. Now you see it here live. Alright, so when I want to cut this, because I don't want it to go into the main piece, I'm going to start at the end up here, as opposed to starting way over here, where it seems like it might be a little bit easier to start. So I'm going to start here, carefully find my point, drive my knife down, and cut all the way up. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see what I'm doing here. Working on getting better camera setup so you guys can see more of what I'm doing a whole lot better in the near future. Okay, so So I'm going to cut those two better again. And a lot of this is going to depend on how thick of the foam you end up using. There are various thickness of foam, and I'll go into that because I got to work with some of the thinner foam for some other projects as well in the near future. So I'll be able to show you guys that. And I got to really carefully cut in here. This might actually be easier. I actually had my other knife, so here's my broken one. I'll just kind of just get that in there, use the little one. That's essentially how I did all of these pieces, is I took this knife, and I basically cut in just all the way around, worked my way through. If anybody knows a better way to do this, quicker than, you know, like an hour a piece, carving out all those pieces, please feel free to comment in the comments on any suggestions you might have. Obviously, I'm a little limited on equipment. Otherwise, I could have used like a jigsaw or something like that to do the cutting. But, well, this allowed me to make the precision cuts, you know, to maintain as much of the detail that I had that this one would not have been able to do. So, okay, so now that we've cut that middle piece, let's see if it'll come out. And pop. Perfect. So now we have piece number 2. So these ones I can't add to these yet. I need to make some extra pieces for that. I'll show you guys those extra pieces later. But for now, I'm just going to show you the basics of assembling one of these pieces. So I'm going to start, let's see, there's A and B. So I want these two to come together like so, you know, line them up, right, so that the holes match up. Now, I have a little room to work with because I'm going to have to sand inside like all these pieces here. There's a lot of the, you know, from when I was cutting, it's very rough, and I gotta, you know, sand along here. So if they're not 100% accurately together, and actually that looks pretty darn good. I don't know if you guys can see it. So all in all, I'm not too worried about how this is going to turn out. So what we use to put these together is we actually use contact cement. Some of this stuff here. Now, the best stuff from what I've learned is actually barge cement, but for those of us in Canada, it's a little harder to get. So I haven't been able to pick it up. So I picked up this stuff. I also use this stuff here for smaller stuff. So if I were just assembling, say, actually even just assembling these two pieces or attaching these two pieces to where they're going to go on this, I would just use this because the tube makes it a little bit more convenient, a little bit easier to apply by comparison to the fact that I got this giant tub and I got to use, you know, a brush here. There's like an ink pot you can, or a glue pot you can get, and I'm going to pick up one of those as soon as I can. That basically gives me a little brush and everything in a place that I can dispense the cement a little bit easier. But I don't have one of those right now. So for now, I'm going to have to rely on this stuff. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to apply it here. Alright. So you want to make sure if you're using contact cement, this stuff is potentially hazardous to your health. You know, it is a glue, so you want to make sure that you're in a very well ventilated room. You know, and you know, if you have trouble with respiratory, have a mask. My mask is in pretty poor shape right now. My spare is who knows where. But yeah, these things never hurt to have. You just can't hear me talk through it. But basically what I'm going to do is now I take some of that cement and I'm just going to brush it onto my on here. Now my brush is in pretty poor shape, so I'm basically just going to try to apply some gobs of it all over, and then I'm going to actually finer brush it on before it starts to making a mess all over the place. I'm going to do this. And I'm just going to, as I go, and basically what you want to do with contact cement, and the reason I'm doing both sides for it, is that it'll actually bond better if both sides apply it. But you also don't need, you want it, it needs to dry before you apply it, or it won't do its thing. It'll just kind of fall apart. But you don't need really thick layers of it on it. This is going to be a little harder to do with all the detailing, but I wouldn't be able to cut out the detailing if I didn't do this, the detailing first. Okay, before all this stuff starts to dry and I end up unable to move it. So one of the easiest ways to move it is take one of those pieces of foam that you have and just rub it across. If you have a really good brush, then you're good. And then just make sure that it's evenly spread over all of the parts that you need to make contact with, right? You don't want to miss anything, but you also don't want little globs of it on your brush. Cheat a little and do that. There we go. I move my brush over to my lid. That. There we go. Okay, so now I gotta apply all that. And then it usually takes about, oh, so that's starting to dry, so I'm gonna have to apply some more here. Usually takes about 10 minutes to dry, and you definitely want to do at least 2 layers, because the foam will absorb some of the glue, and then you won't be able to make as good of a contact seal with it with both pieces. So okay, gotta make sure it's nice and even. I mean, it's easy to tell where you've applied with this because this stuff actually looks really different compared to the white foam. So alright, get all the way up there, that corner, and then you apply it so that it's nice and even. Okay, so now I just gotta let that piece sit. Now I gotta really quickly get this piece done, so should have waited a little bit before I applied this one, my bad. Okay, so we go over this again, try to get those glue in there. I'm gonna have to sand that out, I think. Alright, this isn't applying as nicely as I would like, but I haven't worked with anything with this much inner detail on the foam yet, so alright, we're almost home. Oop, ow, right down the side. There you go. Save our glue. You can see it's a bit of a process, but once it's applied, you can kind of just leave it. Okay, so there's that piece. So I'm going to quickly do this while I'm waiting for those to dry. I'm going to quickly apply to this one. Let's grab my brush again. This is what this is for. So grab it, put it on, just end up everywhere. There we go. Take our little foam piece again. Go foam piece. This is a little bit easier to do, so I'm just gonna wipe along so it's nice and even. Fills up the crevices there. Now, I mean, you can give yourself a bit of a helping hand if you want, and you could sand down that inside piece that it looks, all dimpled and stuff for their little designer pattern they have at the bottom of all their foam mats. You could sand that down to better have better contact. But for the most part, the contact cement does a decent enough job that you won't need to do that. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna give this a couple minutes to dry. Then I'm gonna apply the second coat, and then we'll go from there. All right, and we're back. So now I've got all my glue applied to all my pieces. So now all I really got to do is assemble. So now here's where things get a little tricky. Assembly is huge because once this stuff sticks to each other, it's not coming back off. So I'm going to carefully apply at my edge. Make sure I line them up. And I'm going to want to slowly place my piece down on the other one. As you can see, I'm slowly placing, I'm lining everything up as I go. This is actually proving to be probably one of the easiest pieces I've had to assemble for anything I've done so far. And if you guys want to see pictures of some of the stuff I've already done, check out my Facebook page, Ghost Knight Gaming. To see more, and I'll have more tutorials or at least videos of me working on a couple of other projects coming in the near future. But right now we're going to focus on this one. So now I want that piece to line up at the top. Now it's not a 100% perfect lineup here, I admit, but I can sand it down to get 100% what I want. So now I'm going to want to run this over top because this is going to force the glue to merge together, alright, to make my solid piece here, and minus a little bit of spillage all over the place. There you go. That is the piece assembled together. It's not 100% perfect, but I'm still learning this, so you'll have to forgive me for that. But yeah, so there's piece one. All done, ready to go. So we need a bit of smushing about, so I'm probably just going to put something heavy down on top of this to let it weigh it down. So now I'm just going to put together the other pieces I've got sitting here to say, put the glue on this one. So I'm going to take this one, it's the same thing. We want to line up the pieces. I know where they want to go. Once again, these ones aren't 100%, so I didn't cut them out very well, but because of how much sanding I'm going to be doing, I'm not really worried about it. So once again, smush those together, apply some weight here, and voila, we've got that. We've got handle for that, see, just like so, and that actually lines up pretty darn good. So we've got those two. Well, let's put the lid on this thing before I get to sealed, that way it can still do its job. So one last piece. So we'll assemble this, and that'll be it for now. And I'll come back to you guys when I'm ready to do the rest of the assembly of this, and you can see for yourselves what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, so find that piece. There we go. Right there. Trying not to glue myself to myself or to my foam is always a good thing. Line up the pieces so that they match up a little bit better. Alright. Yeah, okay, and then final piece. So yes, this one's going to need considerably more sanding work to make the pieces look better, but once again, basically as it is, it's not too bad. Once again, let's apply some weight to this. Just get that foam contacted. Now, for the most part, you can pretty much start working with this as soon as it's done assembling, because once the stuff is bonded, it's bonded, and it's good to go. But I'm going to let these sit so that I'm sure that they're connected, because I have to do a ton of sanding to this. So I don't want it to try to fall apart while I do that. So there you go. That's the project so far. I've got these pieces ready to go. I got to go measure out the other pieces now that these are done. You know, this has got a ton of sanding that I got to do to it. So when I come back, I'm going to have all this probably figured out and done, other than those other pieces, and I'm actually going to show you guys the assembly of those other pieces so you can see that roughly finished. Now, there's more detailing I'm going to want to do to it later, and other things I want to add, so all of that should come up next time I do this. So yeah, next video will be the rest of this, this finished up, and I should be able to finish it for you guys here. So if you guys like this, like this, subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this. I have Let's Play videos, top 10 videos. I got even more coming in the near future. But I also want to hear what you guys want to see. You know, what kind of games you would like, you think that I would look pretty good playing. You know, look at the stuff I've got so far. If you want to see more of those particular games, definitely comment on those particular videos so that I know that you guys want to see more of that. If you guys want to see a little bit more tutorial-wise, I'm going to work on improving my cameramanship or getting volunteers, and I will show you more tutorial-based stuff and the like. So, yeah, that's it for me for today. So, thanks a lot for checking it out, and I hope to see you guys again soon. See you later, and keep gaming.